Welcome back. Thomas Take Sports Podcast, brought to you by Ryan Thomas and Eric Ellis. We don't have any sponsors yet. We're trying.
Soon.
So, we did a long 2-hour edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast today. I wanted a co-host for this particular episode, and I fortunately was able to bring Eric onto the show. We talked extensively about a lot of topics. Tune in. Give us your reaction. Comment on the Facebook page. And I know the Buffalo Stampede will be willing to comment on that as well, throwing their 2 cents on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast today. So, Buffalo Sabres fans, this is the final take of the Thomas Take Buffalo sports fans. Me and Eric are going to talk about, or Eric and I should say, are going to talk about the current Buffalo Sabres head coach, Dan Blysma. Should he stay? Should he go? Eric is more of an NBA fan than I am. I am a little bit more of an NHL fan than he is, I'd say.
A little bit.
But Eric is going to give his take as best as he can, as always. I'm going to give my take as best as I can. So, Eric, what is your take on the current state of the Buffalo Sabres?
I think we're all kind of disappointed. I think, we wanted to have them tank for a bit. We all know that that's what was the idea. Tim Murray, the GM, I think we all thought he had a great idea for what the process was to get better. We were all kind of hoping for Connor McDavid to be a Buffalo Sabre, but we're all happy for Jack Eichel. I think he's been fantastic, and no one's going to argue otherwise. Mm-hmm. Got Evander Kane, got Ryan O'Reilly, you got all these other guys. Okaposa. Did I say that right?
Okposo,
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And all these other good players that we have. Sam Reinhart was another pick we had before Eichel. That was great.
Yeah. For sure.
And, we had Ted Black, who was our coach before Dan Blysma. And obviously we didn't expect him to do great things because, he was working with a team that was rebuilding still.
Black wasn't really the coach. He was more like the VP. Well, they had Ted Black and they had
Ted Nolan.
Yeah, Ted Black. Yeah,
Ted Nolan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ted Black.
They're both named Ted. It's really tough to keep up. But
they're both shit. So it's
they're
okay.
Both bad. But Dan Blysma was, I thought at the time, a great hire. He had won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you get a lot of hope from a guy who's won a championship before. You think he knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He has been with Buffalo since 2015. And in that time, 2015-2016, he went 35 wins, 36 losses. And then this year so far has been 31-32, right? At this point?
Basically, no improvement. There's no improvement whatsoever.
No.
And it's disturbing. But yeah, you continue.
The problem for me, for those who want to say he should be fired already, is that it does take time. This is still a team that's still trying to figure out what they want to be. And Dan Blysma, for what it's worth, I think he has a good idea of what he's doing for the most part. Now, he was on the Pittsburgh Penguins, which we all know is a great hockey team. They have Sidney Crosby, who not everyone likes, obviously.
Yeah, but everyone wishes that Sidney Crosby was on their team.
Oh, yeah.
They hate him because he's not.
That's another reason. But we all know that he's got talent. He's got potential. I think he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do with this team. And I think Tim Murray is trying to figure out what else this team needs. I think offensively they are doing fairly well. We just saw the Toronto game where they
offensively
scored 5 points.
Offensively they're getting better. But it's inconsistent.
It's inconsistent. I will agree with that. Yes, and I think that it's still a learning curve for a lot of the players to try and get this chemistry. And I'm not also going to say that the goalie is a huge factor because Lerner, he's also inconsistent. And
Leonard is, he is just. Like you said, it's just inconsistencies. And originally, I'm not in favor of coaches getting fired after 2 years. Like I said that with Rex Ryan. I've said it with other coaches in other sports. Unless you're Bobby Valentine, who managed the Red Sox to a 67-win season in 2012, I think it was, where they on paper had one of the best teams in baseball, and they were a catastrophe. In that case, you fire the guy. Like if it's just beyond help or repair, and that guy was brought in, he's got to go. Like it. And for the Sabres, it's not that bad, but it's close. It's close.
I would agree.
It's close. And I thought that they would want Blysma here. They'd give him some time, but the players don't look like they're responding to him, and that is disturbing. Like there's young players on this team that want to win that have never really experienced losing because, as you said, they tanked. They drafted these guys in the top 2. Reinhart and Eichel were both second overall picks. They were part of big-time hockey programs that never really had losses on their records. So now they're losing, and they're pissed. Like, Jack Eichel is more than willing to step up to the plate and say, this is bullcrap. I don't want to lose. I don't understand why we're here. We need to take ownership. And that worries me for Blysma's future. Even if I were to want him here, which I'm kind of up in the air with it, the fact that the players are kind of like, hey, this is not working out for us. We might need a fresh start. And it's definitely they're wearing it on their sleeve. Like it's really showing. Even when they win, it's like they don't have a positive as good a feeling as you should when you win. You know what I mean? Like the morale of the team seems very low. And I'm not one to say this. Like if you have a franchise player and he's unhappy, you make him happy type thing. I'm not usually one to say that in sports, but in the case of the Sabres, where they tanked for so long to get Eichel or McDavid, and they got Eichel, thankfully, they at least ended up with Eichel, who's just as good as McDavid in his own way.
Oh, definitely.
The fact that they got him, they should do whatever they can to make him happy. Like if it means firing Dan Blysma, if Dan Blysma's got to go, then I would fire him because it's not going to get any better. Like I thought originally, being that Blysma was the juniors head coach when Eichel had success in the World Juniors tournament, I thought it would work, and I think Blysma's done a lot to help Jack Eichel's game in some ways with that system, but the team doesn't seem to be responding to as a unit, and that is disturbing. One thing too that I noticed is just you were talking about Robin Lehner. Robin Lehner, his stats are great. He has like a 93% save percentage, but their defense is so bad. They made a trade. I don't know if you remember this, but they made a trade. They traded Mark Pysyk, who was a first-round pick player, to I think it was Calgary. I can't remember. Maybe in Florida. One of the two. I think it might have been Florida. They traded Pysyk to Florida for Kulikov, who was a big-name defenseman. But he got here, and he sucks. Like, he's just not... It just wasn't a fit. Like hockey, like football, like baseball. Some guys go from one team to another, and they just don't fit. And he was a perfect example of that.
I think you're completely right with the defense-wise. Robbing gets a lot of flag for being the goalie because in the end of the score at the end of the goal, it's his call. It's him who didn't make the save. But again, the defense is a key factor here. Tim Murray. They're
not physical. You continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Yeah. But Tim Murray. He has an idea of what this team needs, but I feel like he's addressed a lot of the offense. In his
offense,
and I feel like we need a good defender to be there to actually help out, the goalies that we might have come in. Yeah. Whether it's
one thing that I'm excited about is that they have a goalie from Notre Dame that could possibly be coming to Buffalo that is owned by the Sabres. Like they have his rights, so he could come here. He's really freaking good. I think his name's Cal Anderson or something like that. He's a stud. Like this guy. He's one of the best goalies in college hockey. Like he's a real stud. Putting him out on an island by himself in the net with the Sabres would be a huge mistake. If anything, if they bring him on, he has to go to Rochester. He has to get experience in the minor league level. I think that'll happen. Another thing too is you have the fact that they need to address their defense, and I think that Mark Pesic trade really bit them in the butt. I hoped that it would work out well for them, but it didn't, and that was the case for sure. You have all these guys here that are good players, and they point the finger at the wrong players. The fans do it too. Pointing the finger at Evander Kane when he was struggling, only for Evander Kane to go on this complete tear, be like the best player that the Sabres have had in the last year and a half, besides Jack, besides Ryan O'Reilly, besides Reinhart. Evander Kane is one of the best players on this team.
Yes, he's great.
He's got to stay. Like there's people saying that he's as good as gone. They need to make him. We talked about the number one priority for the Bills. The Sabres, he's the number one priority to me to keep. And besides making Jack Eichel happy, you have to, and you don't want to spoil a player, but when it comes down to it, he's the future of the team. He's the franchise player.
Easily, yeah.
You have to keep him happy. Do you think that Blysma will get fired? Do you think he's going to stay?
At this rate, I think they'll give him one more year. I do think they'll give him one more year. And if, he fails to get them to even the wild card at this point, there he's going to be gone. That's what I think, personally.
Yeah. I think that if they fail or they look any worse than they did towards the end of this past year or towards the bad parts of this past season, he's as good as gone. But I would really keep my eye on the options that are available. And it sounds grimy to do that. I'd be like, hey, if, name that I think of a lot is John Tortorella. I don't think he's going anywhere, but I would really like him to come here if he could. But being that he's actually already coached here before, back when they had Ted Nolan, when he was our actual coach, not our tank coach, but they've continued to retool, rebuild. It's at some point, much like the Bills, Buffalo the people of Buffalo are wondering, when is it going to end? When is enough going to be enough? Like, is there ever going to be a point where the rebuild actually works, where we actually see improvement? Because, they make these rebuilds and they retread and retool, and it's just consistent mediocrity. Like, the Buffalo Bills, 9-7, 8-8, 7-9, like we said in the last segment. Buffalo Sabres, 35, 31, 32 and 38, 30,
all above 500.
All around or below or a little bit above 500. That's mediocrity. That's at its finest. So I just hope that they make that comeback. Terry Pagula has to be thinking to himself right now, I gotta fix this. We're taking way too long, and maybe we'll see some urgency from Terry.
At least we have the Bandits.
That's true. And the Bisons are a good farm team. They're not a pro. They're not a pro team, but they do all right. So that is our take, the final take on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Today I was joined by Eric Ellis. We talked about a lot of stuff: Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, Cody Garbrandt versus T.J. Dillashaw, the Ultimate Fighter season. And now the Buffalo Sabres, LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball. Bunch of stuff. And number one Bills draft priority. Check this stuff out. It'll be shared, posted on Facebook, and it'll always be on Spreaker.com, always be on my podcast YouTube channel, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on YouTube, for you to listen on demand anytime you want, and it'll be on there for you to listen to. It's just a couple words away and a click away. Boom, you'll see every single Thomas Take that's ever been done. And you can tune in and see how right I was, or see how wrong I was, or see how wrong me and Eric were in the future. Take care, guys.
Either way. Thanks for listening.
Eric, thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.